Before we get into today's episode, I want to thank the sponsor, Hooligan Discs. Hooligan has an awesome lineup that is ever growing and evolving. They're one of the newer manufacturers in the space, and we're super excited to be partnering with them. You can shop the full Hooligan lineup over at foundationdiscs.com right now. Let me run you through their lineup and what each one is great for. First off, we have the Dime. This is a fantastic putting putter with a small bead. Also great for straight to slight turnover approach shots. It really holds whatever line you put it on. Probably their most popular disc currently is the Cash. This is a phenomenal throwing putter. Nice, overstable, reliable. You put it on Annie, it's going to get the flat hyzer out on you. Throw it on hyzer, it's going to hold it. Very reliable in a multitude of winds in different situations. All of us at Foundation absolutely love the Cash. This next one's the one I'm most excited about actually bagging, which is going to be the Flip. This is an understable mid-range that's very comfortable in the hand, beadless, and just very comfortable, consistently understable flight that's great for hyzer flips and control shots in the woods. The thread does exactly what it says it does. It threads gaps. This thing is dead straight, point and shoot. If you put it on hyzer, you'll get a little pop-up out of it. You throw it flat, you can get a nice S shot, but it just goes straight, so controllable, and a pretty unique hand feel for a 9-speed that's very comfortable in the hand. Especially for an understable disc. I really enjoy the feel of this one. And then last but not least, we have the Vibe, which is a flip up 11 speed. This is a great choice if you're like me or a lot of us here and you don't have the greatest forehand of all time. This is an awesome choice to throw some hyzer flip forehands. Or if your backhand's still developing, you're throwing in that like 350 foot range, the Vibe's a great choice for that too. And like I said, they're working on new molds constantly. They're trying to get new stuff out, and you can support a great company that is awesome to work with and support the show at the same time. Head over to foundationdisc.com. Check out the full lineup of Hooligan available over there. Let's get into the show. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to a special edition of the Offseason Podcast, a show where we keep you entertained all disc golf offseason long. Today is it, the day you've been waiting for, the Imposter Reunion show. We have most of the cast here. We are missing Sir Jimothy, Jay Milley. He's on baby duty right now. So I'm sure he wishes he could be here over, changing diapers or having a baby screaming and crying at you. But hey, we're gonna ask all the questions y'all want us to ask. I put a prompt out on Instagram, got a bunch of great responses. So we're gonna use those to kind of guide and direct our conversations here. But yeah, we're excited. We've got everyone in here. It was a great season of Imposter. Very excited about how it went. Very excited about next season and all the changes we can implement to make it better. And we're going to, run through and hopefully give you a lot of context for a lot of the whys y'all have out there. So let's start with the Imposter team from this year, which before I say it, if you haven't watched Imposter, first, why did you click on the reunion episode? You know that's full of spoilers. But I'm about to go ahead and reveal the Imposter team, if you will. And so let's just get that out of the way. 2 seconds from now, it's going to be spoiled for you. So, Imposter team this year, Gary and his assistant, Carlos. So the first question is just going to kind of be for the room, if anyone wants to elaborate on this, of when, a lot of people were asking this, they wanted to know specifically if there was a moment that y'all became 100% confident that Gary was the imposter or an imposter. Anyone have one specific one?
I was the imposter.
The funniest thing about this is in my initial vote, I told the camera exactly how it was going to work out. I said that Carlos was something because he was just being too nice. And then I was like, Gary is 100% the actual imposter.
Yeah, I can confirm. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Was there any moment for anyone that, like, obviously people honed in on a few shots that I'm going to ask Gary about in a second, but were any of those enough that you were like, put a gun to my head, Gary's the imposter? Or was it just like, get this guy out of here and he might be an imposter?
I was
When
like,
he didn't throw the thumber.
I would say I was like 80 to 85%, but like you can never be 100% because people react under pressure differently. But with Gary, what was most helpful is we had precedent from the season prior, and so the first thing I'm looking at for the imposter is body language. Whenever we've just figured out, like somebody among us has just figured out that they have this kind of tough role, and I saw Gary's wheels spinning a little bit, and so I was kind of watching him, and whether he was trying to throw bad shots or not, he threw some tough shots at Falling Creek. So I was definitely on him pretty quickly, but I could never say that, like, if somebody told me I had to bet my entire, life on it, like, no way. Like, I was not that confident. It was the largest hunch I had probably at any point in the show, though.
Yeah, I think he was the safest bet out of everyone that I voted for.
Yes, I do agree with that.
If I had to pick like who I thought was actually the imposter, Gary was at the top of the list of all the people I voted for.
Totally.
Yeah. As a putting guy, Gary was the other putting guy we had. I felt like the putts. I think I would have put everything on it after Falling Creek, just because.
After the first rounds,
the first round,
East Campus, nothing to rob you.
Even that C2 cash on the stacked baskets.
Because once again, like, those are the kind of putts that you just kind of pop up there and you're like, maybe I pop it over the basket, maybe I don't. Honestly, it would have been a more impressive putt to me if it was a C2 putt on a normal like a standard basket. But we don't normally practice on elevated baskets. So yeah, you give us some pop to try to like hit a band or try to go to hit the bands between. It's way easier to miss and hit an elevated basket, I feel like, than it is to
Also, at that point in time, we were missing the line. So
no, we still had a chance.
Outside chance. Y'all ended up coming very close that round.
Well, you had to do some things
gave
to
us
kind of.
always do
If we would have had to play that normal hole, I mean,
Shout out to what was the guy's name? The kid we brought in.
Yeah, that kid.
David, maybe not.
I didn't
David.
even think about that. That kid saved us a couple shots, and Hunter made the hardest hole on the course, the easiest par 4 on the course. I mean, there was a lot of manipulation for us to even sniff the line. So that's, to me, a lot of times when people are like, what about this shot? What about that? It's like, well, that was already at the point of where we were either going to make the line, no doubt, or we weren't going to make it. So like the beginning of the round is the most important. And that's where it's like, you just don't want to do anything to put yourself in a spot to where you have a huge uphill battle. Like, you don't have to be a hero, but just don't make massive mistakes. And, the shot Gary had early in that round was a tough one. He never even found his disc.
It's still there somewhere. If you want, you want the imposter's disc, it is in the tree at 4.
So I feel like I had the funniest perspective because I was behind Gary on that round. So the 2 Berg up shots that were like very short and kept me from having like a gimme putt, and then obviously that throw that went straight into the woods and we never found it. We found a trace, but he threw a grace, I think is what happened.
Flip that. I'm like, you're looking for a trace, and he pulls out a grace. I'm like, well, okay, good grace.
I threw a grace now. So Gary, the fans want to know. Obviously, we just highlighted several specific shots.
Oh yeah.
In that opening round, and then you can even carry us into East Campus. Were there any shots that you actually intentionally messed up, or was it just unfortunate timings for mistakes?
So I'll say this. First of all, your boy wanted nothing to do with being the imposter. I would say if you go back to like June, July of this year, it's probably the worst disc golf I've been playing like locally. I had to go back to commuting to work, so I did not want to waste 3. That was the whole goal. So I was up there in the tall grass, and I was fully intent on throwing a hyzer that was just way too short to put us in a position to attack the basket safely. What I did not anticipate was the tread on my shoes not being the hiking boots that I'm used to, which, shout out. I mean, honestly, the waterproofing is fantastic. I wasn't ready for non-hiking boot tread. So I took a shot that I was going to mess up, and I messed it up way worse. The moment I saw it going towards the tree, the same feeling I got after episode 2 last season, I had that feeling again. And I was like, I'm going to text my wife. I'm out. This is it. That looks so bad. It looks so bad. So yeah, that was definitely a tough one. And at that point, I thought I had sold so hard. I really didn't try to mess too much up the rest of the round. I had like a couple putts that were a little bit shaky, and I think that was maybe my frustration from selling a bit too hard on that shot, which is realistic. But I'll tell you, and there's a lot of context behind this shot, I did not try to mess up that thumber shot in round 2.
That's what I was going to get to next.
Not
East
at
Campus. Now, a lot of people here were talking about they were on to you at round 1, but in the series, the shot that sent you home as far as what everyone like staked their claim on, what everyone voted based on, was this thumber shot, which you obviously just mentioned. You didn't actually intentionally mess it up. If you look at where it ended up, yes, it was in the trees, but it was about 20-some feet deep, 25, I would say, feet deep. Brodie made the putt from inside the circle. Was there anyone who, once you watched the context of like actually seeing the footage, because where our angle was up on the hill, I was on the same page as everyone. I was like, Gary, what the heck are you doing, man? Like you just chucked this thing so far past. Was there anyone that like once you watched the footage you realized, oh, I was too harsh on Gary on that shot, or do you still stand by that shot was it? That's my decision maker.
You mean the gallery of all of them standing at the top of the ridge who didn't come down to look at the lie?
Well,
Yes.
to be clear, like I don't know how everybody else was. I was already 100% voting Gary before that round even started. Yeah. So for me, whenever he throws a shot like that, I'm just trying to get everybody else riled up because I want to make sure their votes are also going that way.
Yeah.
So I could have cared. I didn't want anybody to go behind the lie. I didn't want anybody to see the actual context of the shot. And yeah, I was just like, let's get this vote going.
I think Grant came down to like look at it because you put me there.
Obviously. I felt bad. But honestly, I mean, my shot I feel like was not really having played that hole before and not knowing how to throw the shot and like walking uphill on like the hyzer shot. It was kind of, I was trying to get as much distance as I could.
Yeah.
And that distance just ended up putting you further down that hill.
You landed in the 5% of space you couldn't land. So like technically it wasn't that bad of a shot. But the context that like is funny here is the disc that I threw out of that bush was a 145 gram DX Leopard. Anyone here who throws thumbers or consistently throws thumbers knows that you've put time into a field to know what your distance is, because it's very important to know how far you throw your thumbers because you don't want to overshoot or undershoot, that kind of thing. I physically can't throw that disc past like 220 because of how light it is. So when I'm like, hey, what's the distance? And everyone's like, oh, 200 or so. I'm like, that's perfect. I'm uphill. I've got a tough stance. I went after that shot and I lazed it at like 160. So no wonder I overthrew it. So
mistake, because I am the only other person here that really throws thumbers. Mine are not off of anything but pure vibes. I just feel the distance. So whatever he just said doesn't account for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think I've thrown that disc probably 200 times in a field and like measured how far just because I like to know. But yeah, no, I went into the second round saying I need to play this round as best as I possibly can. I had no intention of playing poorly. Then there was a singular moment where I thought about going full nuclear. But I didn't do that because I felt like you guys were just going to abandon all my lies, and then I'd have to go off into the woods like a lonely little animal and go fetch the disc and I just chucked 200 feet into no man's land.
That's funny.
I will say I feel like there's like some mob mentality that happens, and so like when people are already on to Gary and they're like, we think it's him already, then like any shots he has that like may even could be bad at all are just like, oh, that was awful. This guy's throwing it like, because I was like a little suspect. I mean, I didn't really like, think it was you 100%, but, and on the thumber, I think after the thumber, I was like, I don't know. That wasn't like the worst shot ever. It was just a little bit too far, but yeah.
I'll say this to defend everybody here. I would have voted myself out because between either the impostery stuff or just my level of play, the safest vote possible was definitely me. There. So, and I know how that is with the mob mentality of, oh, there's a shot. Let me get everyone excited about voting for this guy because now I'm also safe. So like, it's totally acceptable that everyone's like, I'm going to go ahead and go, oh, it's Gary. It's Gary. Gary. Awesome. Gary. Great. We're all safe now. So I get it. No
at
worries.
that point in the game too, there wasn't another person that really had done something to made themselves there was no choice. It wasn't like
you weren't giving people choices.
Yeah. So
there was one moment though I have to call out that I'm sad didn't make it to camera, and that was after the first round. Robbie and I were sitting in the living room. He goes, "All right, Gary, walk me through that berg up shot on hole 1 or on hole 2." And it was a very serious moment. It made me feel like a dad questioning me about a decision that I made.
Dude, it's because I was like that's why, Hunter, you were like, would you bet your life? I was like, unless Gary can rationalize this for me, because it wasn't just the one on 2, it was the one where we had that really funny moment with the editing of you revealing Carlos and his role in episode 1. that one, I walked up and I was like, Gary, dude, it's like pretty much a wide open shot with your Berg. And I know anyone that bags a Berg is going to scream that the reason I bagged the Berg is because, like, it's the greatest disc ever and I can do anything you want with it. You can't ask for a more Bergy shot than what you had. And Carlos had to bang a huge putt, and then everyone just forgot about the upshot. And I was like, not me, dog.
I did not forget. I did not forget. I felt all the
Carlos,
pressure.
People have the same question for you. Obviously, each round you had $150 on the line that was yours if the team missed. Was there any shots in particular that you're like, that was in your mind and you're like, I'm messing this shot up because I think this is a make or break? Or were there any moments that stick out that you're like, Grant missed that putt, you're fist pumping in your mind, like, there we go, I just got $150 in my pocket? Or were you just like, screw that, I'm playing the game as a good guy, and if I make money, I make money?
Man, it was always so tempting to just kind of flip the script and play the bad guy role. But anybody that knows me, like, I'm a team player. I feel like I'm a positive person. So, if there was a little bit more incentive, I probably would have played the assistant imposter role a little bit harsher. But I just found myself gravitating to helping the team. All these guys are awesome. So, no, you can see it in a lot of the videos. Like, anytime I messed up, especially I think it was episode 4, I was missing shots and I was just like defeated. Yeah, I think I just gravitated towards being a team player.
Was
Makes
his
sense.
Hunter, real quick, was his 150 not coming out of the pot?
No, it was separate.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it would have behooved him to make it to the very end and
Correct.
made the 150.
Yeah. That was a role where,
Actually, maybe not.
to be honest with you, like, transparency wise, we were coming into the show and our original plan was introduce 2 imposters. But then we were like, well, the imposter, depending on who has it, is such a powerful role because there is the case of, like, you don't have to do anything and you can just sit back. And if there's 2 of them and everyone else is messing up, there's no chance the team wins. So we were like, well, how can we kind of have that possibly 2 imposters? And it was inspired by the role of the Tanner in somewhat, not the
Werewolf.
Tanner, sorry, assistant werewolf. Or what is it?
Minion.
Minion, thank you.
Minion.
In assistant werewolf. We thought about a Tanner chaos for this game because a Tanner's only goal is to get voted out and they win if they get voted out.
Bro, I want
Not-
the Tanner. I want the Tanner so
I
bad.
don't think that would work in this game.
I can defend that role. I defended that role for like 2 hours with someone last night. I can
But
talk about roles.
The assistant minion, or sorry, the minion, the assistant to the imposter, the idea there was like, hey, we'll just see what happens. Because, like, maybe Carlos will play this out. We also picked Carlos because coming in, we were like, we need to pick someone that's just like, they could be the greatest imposter of all time, or they could absolutely suck at the imposter role. And if we give them this role, no harm, no foul. Because Carlos was the one that we had the least context for, disc golf skill wise, personality, how they were going to interact with each other wise. So that's why we threw it to him. And I think that now what we kind of learned with this series is I think that we could go 2 imposters and be good. But that was kind of why this role existed and why there's a lot of people that are like, that role didn't really make sense. And we agree. We were just kind of safeguarding the show because we were scared of 2 imposters might have been just way too dominant. If you get to the final round, both imposters are in, and it's just like,
I was
show's
waiting.
over, you know?
I was waiting after I saw that I was the imposter. I'm like, please get a text message tonight that tells me who the other person is so we can collab. Please,
Yeah.
Hunter, text me.
No,
Hunter,
that
text
is
me
a,
with the
that
group.
is a good point too. That obviously because Carlos was on the good guy team, we didn't reveal his role to Gary or that Gary was the imposter to him. So they were still playing the game blind. Gary didn't even know, do I have a second imposter? Do I have an assistant? Gary knew nothing. Gary
And
just
I'm
knew,
setting Carlos up
I'm an
the whole
imposter.
first round.
Yeah.
I didn't want it.
Yeah. So now, as we talk about votes, does anyone have one vote that sticks out in their mind that now, if you could go back in time, you wish you would have listened to your gut and voted differently? Like maybe there was something where you're like, I knew I should have voted this way. I knew I should have trusted so-and-so over so-and-so. Or obviously now, as you look back, are you just happy with all your votes, knowing the information you had at the time and the context you had voting? Is there anything that sticks out voting-wise?
I'd say Robbie.
You wish you wouldn't have voted Robbie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see it in my face during when he comes in and he says, hey, I've seen this video, and he starts giving his spiel, and like the doubt on my face is just so apparent. And I was just like, man, I feel like when Hunter's saying that there's the imposter team is still alive, or I like Robbie had said earlier in that video, he felt what 65, 85% sure that we had voted out the imposter, which was Gary.
95.
95%.
Yeah, I think he said he was like 5 or 6% chance an imposter was still here.
Chance. Yeah.
So I felt 2 feet small, like when he's like pointing at us and he's like, I think it's either you or it's you if it's not Gary. And I was just like, man, I'm about to send this guy home, and I'm starting to doubt if he's really the imposter or if we're just doing it because we're afraid.
Carlos, did you think there was was there a possible where you thought somebody else was the imposter, or did you think that if I was out and I was the imposter that you legitimately were alone?
I thought that I wasn't going to put it past Hunter to put 2 imposters and me.
Gotcha.
In case I played it as a good guy. And so the 2 people that I was the most afraid of was Robbie and then Brodie.
Can
But
we
see,
talk
that's
about
how
the
I felt,
wildest
too.
moment of this
ahead.
whole thing is when y'all offered him to double his money and he did not take it,
didn't
and then
take it.
does the thing of telling everybody. Me and my wife were watching this, and I was just like, this is the craziest thing you could do. You get extra money, and you get to leave, and you get to feel better. And then the next day, you just, hey, guys, it's over.
Yeah, so okay, let's hit on 2 things here, because I was gonna bring that up obviously later in the show, but first, the double the money to leave was always a plan for. We were gonna offer it. Originally, the offer we had was actually the Jay Millie information offer. We had 2 plans there. One was we were gonna offer, if it wasn't Jay Millie, because we knew what Jay Millie's decision was gonna be. We were gonna offer someone a certain amount of money, they go home and no vote happens. But then when it was Jay Millie, our original plan for the badge of honor that night was, instead of the information that we gave him in regards to Trevor, our original plan was we were going to have Jay Millie just choose who to send home. So there wasn't going to be a vote. He was just going to come up and we were going to say, you're the only vote tonight. Who's going home?
Wow.
And then we were just going to walk back down and tell the room like so-and-so. But given how everything was happening, we were like, we're going to pivot. And one of the pivots that we had decided a little bit earlier was, hey, we have Carlos who has earned this money. He is like the team captain. Everyone's rallied around him. He might just think like, you know what, I can take this, double it. I think it was end up being like 800 some bucks or something when it was doubled. I can take this money, basically get what I'm going to get if I make it to the end anyways, and eliminate myself, which would have obviously rattled the team a little bit of just like, our homeboy's gone. What's going on? So I thought I was like 80% confident Carlos was taking that offer of the, like $800 to get out of there. But let's walk to the moment why most people tuned in. I feel like Carlos, final round, T-pad, hole 1. I walk up and say, imposter team is still alive. You reveal your role. Walk us through what you were feeling in that moment and why you decided to reveal it.
Yeah, going into that night before that, the 4 of us that were left over, so Grant, Trevor, Jay Millie, and I, we were on like cloud 9. We were like, guys, let's kick back. The imposter's gone. We got Gary right away. We're cruising into tomorrow to win this money. And we felt great. And go at the start of the round when you said, hey, the imposter's team is still alive, I felt just the tension fill back into the room and the doubt. And I didn't want to lose that amongst the group. And you know, as much as people want to say on the internet, you know, it's different when you're there, right? We were filming for, at that point, 4 days in a row. Some of us were going to rounds like afterwards. I was like physically exhausted. I was mentally exhausted. Obviously you saw like my emotions come out in that one episode after voting out Robbie and just feeling the tension. I had been playing terribly the last 2 rounds before that. I thought I was going home just off of votes, and then I got the immunity challenge. And so I was just kind of fried. And, you know, it might sound like an excuse, but I honestly just forgot that Hunter told me not to tell anybody. So I was just like, you know what? I got this in my back pocket. I'm just going to say something.
At what moment did you realize I was talking about you? Like, because Jay Millie revealed what I had said at Timbrook, hole 18. He said, Hunter said the imposter team's still alive. And that's the first time y'all as a group heard, I didn't say an imposter still in the show. I said the imposter team is still alive. Did it click for you then that I was talking about you and that y'all had the imposter out? Or was it not till whole 1 T-pad final round that it clicked. Like, I think he's talking about me, and there's no imposter here.
Yeah, it was then at the T-pad because I think when you said that the imposter team was still alive, we still had Brodie around. And like I had mentioned, I still thought it was maybe Robbie or Brodie if there was still a second imposter. So I was like, I can't be sure. Like, I don't want to just leave it to chance. And if Brodie is the imposter, that would suck. So when you said it on the T-pad, I was just, okay, there's no way it's any of these 3 guys because I trust them implicitly. And if I had a conversation with you beforehand, before we started filming, and I said, hey, is the imposter team still alive? And you would have told me yes. If I would have asked, obviously, then I would have been like, okay, I know what's happening. And then probably I wouldn't have said anything on the T-pad in that moment. I was just like gut reaction.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I've talked to like our team internally about this because there's a chain of events that led to me saying the imposter team's still alive on that first T-pad, because my goal was I was never going to say it again. I told Jay Millie that. I kind of knew he was going to relay it differently than he heard it. And I just assumed everyone's going to think an imposter's still alive. And especially if you look at the voting of episode 4, the tension that was there, all eyes were on Trevor. So we were walking into episode 5 thinking we don't have to poke the bear. Trevor's dead. And unless he changes something, and Trevor's going to fight because Trevor knows he's not the imposter. So Trevor's going to be it's basically going to be like, who's pointing fingers at where? And so, but the moment that actually is even more important than that is we somewhat strategically designed the immunity game to favor the best player, which happened to be Brodie. And when we were leaning into it, walking into the immunity game, we were actually kind of like high-fiving ourselves production team-wise, because we were like, this is incredible because everyone wants to vote Brodie out, and Brodie's about to win immunity from this tech disc game. And like, this is going to, like, are they going to vote at all? Are they going to throw their votes? Like, we thought we were home free at that point. And then obviously, Carlos, you took it from him in the RPM. You nail it. You take it from Brodie. You have the immunity. Brodie almost convinces people to still vote. Oh, heck yeah. That's sick.
That's a Jay Millie original.
That's incredible. Brodie almost still convinces people to vote Trevor, whatever. So then we go into the final round, and still driving up to the final round, we in the car, it was me, Silas, and Connor driving up, and we were so excited for the finale ahead of us because we thought we were walking into tension high, animosity, like everyone is going to be on the edge of their seat. And we pull up in the parking lot and we walk up to 4 best friends who are like, here we go, we've done it, let's hit a line and ride into the sunset together. And so we kind of panicked because we looked at each other and we're like, they're onto us. They know there's no imposter here. They are like 100% confident. And so y'all went down to the first T-pad, and if y'all remember, we lingered back, and that was when we made a like last minute pivot decision. I was like, well, hey, I still have it in my back pocket. The imposter team's still here. And I told them, I'm pretty positive at that moment, Carlos is going to know what I mean as soon as I say it this time, because like, I think he's going to figure it out. But we were like, but hey, it's probably going to cause people to vote Trevor. Trevor might end up voting, like votes are going to get thrown. And so that was where we kind of went in. And so it was kind of like, we threw it on you last second there. And that's also why we didn't reiterate beforehand or anything like that, is because in my mind, I wasn't going to say anything. So I didn't even think about the fact of you. In my mind, you were done. You were clear. It didn't matter what you did or said because everyone was going to be fingers pointing at each other. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh crap, here we go. Trev, what do you got?
So 2 things. Firstly, yes, I think a lot of people, it's a great point about the immunity game was a huge twist. And also, 2 things. If Carlos had not said anything, we would have, Grant, I think you could probably agree, we would have chucked votes out there because like,
yeah,
we would have we would have felt we had to, right?
Like, for the most part, I mean, like me and you probably both did some things that would have like made it a little bit more suspicious, but
yeah, well, and
we were going, you even said like, I don't think what Hunter's saying means like what we think it means. And like, I was like, maybe Hunter is like on the imposter team or something, and he's just saying.
So
always is. Here's
the other question, Grant, because this was probably when Hunter told me about how confident they thought I was dead to rights. And looking at the footage of like you in the voting room, you said a lot of things like suspecting me. Were you dressing it up for the camp? Because you and I weren't completely on the same page until the last night. Yeah. So how close were you to actually voting me?
So everything that I did was pretty much based on mob mentality. And I was like, all right, this is where the vote's going. I can just slide through. I'm good. So when Robbie happened, I was like, I don't really know if it's Robbie. Like he gave me no reason to believe it's him, but the mob says we're doing it, so we're doing it. Same thing with Brodie, pretty much.
Yeah.
And Brodie, for Brodie, my thing was like, if he was the imposter, how would he be playing? And I think some people said it too, like, oh, he would just be playing his best, try and make it to the end, and then like sabotage everything to be like entertaining and funny. And I was like, yeah, that seems pretty legit. So he was next suspect. Honestly, I like wouldn't have been surprised if you were the imposter. And I thought like you could have easily been next on my chopping block just because I know you're good at playing the game. Same reason we voted Robbie.
Yeah.
So like the only reason I didn't vote you was because
the mob.
Yeah, like Josh.
And so like if Carlos didn't say anything, your vote's probably going my way. It probably has to at the end there. Because now your only thought process is like, well, it just has to be me.
Are we forgetting stuff that happened in this game? Robbie, are we forgetting like people lied in this game and we're just like...
No, I'm going to go back to it. I have questions about that. We jumped over it, but I have questions.
I'm confused is what's happening right now.
What are you talking about?
And I think what Brodie's bringing up, and I mean, literally several questions on Instagram that were submitted were regarding this of Trevor. People are wondering... why you acted so suspicious once they discovered you were innocent. I think because the comment section, more so than anyone in the show, was 100% onto you.
Well, let's start with
this. They want to know why did you do the things you did?
Let's start with this, and our editors would attest to this. They edited me to look as suspicious as possible because they knew it was the most exciting storyline for a lot of the votes. So half the things you heard me say were a snippet of an entire paragraph of context. So that's the first thing to understand. Secondly, the reason that I was suspicious of Brodie was because, the reason I turned on Brodie was because, like Grant said, I was going with the mob. So at the beginning, me, Brodie, and Carlos, our goal was to get it down low enough that we could control the vote. Then I saw other people, Jay, Millie, and Grant, shifting in a different direction. I was worried about their influence, so I hopped sides, as you do. I did that, yes. But then there was a portion of the show where I legitimately suspected Brodie. I was obviously wrong, of course I was, but I wasn't just doing that to get people riled up. I was fighting it in my head. I really was like, could he just be playing me? I have no idea. So like I was moving around a lot of different like opinions and sides towards the end, but also let's be clear, I was edited to look like an insane person during that show. And I was going a little insane, so it wasn't that hard to do.
I was going to say, there was no editing for when I got voted out. I walked in and said my piece, and the only person who talked and puffed his chest out at all, like they didn't include the edit of 20 minutes of you chest out doing the thing because Grant and Carlos and Josh wouldn't even look me in the eyes because they knew sheep were dead.
I would like to make here's another important point people don't understand. Okay. The goal of Imposter Disc Golf is to win as much money as possible. Do you know how you win as much money as possible? You keep voting people off the show.
Hunter, can I jump in here?
You can jump in whenever
you want. If I could take a vote back, I wouldn't take a vote back because when Robbie was eliminated, my prize money went up.
I have two things to say. First one, this game, especially this game, brought me back to the days of where we would have big game nights. We'd invite a bunch of our friends over. Werewolf, Kelsey gets all of her Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders over. Great, everyone's happy. They would chip chat the entire time I'd be explaining the rules. I'd be explaining the rules. I could see them over in the corner. They're talking about what they're going to wear tomorrow and all this stuff. We start playing the game. Everyone's having a good time. People start doing some weird stuff during the game. We vote them out. We're like, why is that person lying? Vote them out. Werewolf. We get to the end of the game and we figure out who the werewolves are, and they weren't the werewolves. And we ask them, why were you guys lying? And they're like, oh, I thought it'd be fun. Those people pissed me off in that game because, and this is where I think the big question with Imposter Disc
except
Golf
I
is,
didn't get voted off. I won.
This is the big question with Imposter Disc Golf is some people play the game completely different. And I think when you talk about like Survivor, there is this idea in Survivor that people have different strategies, right? I'm going to have an immunity, or I'm going to link up with the weakest people. I'm going to link up with the strongest people. You have all different types of strategies. But at the end of the day, everyone knows how the game works. Only one person wins. So everyone has that going in. Everyone knows people are going to lie and not. The problem with this game, or at least that I have with this game, is people have different ideas of how to play. I play this game of where once the imposter I know is out and I feel very good with everyone else, I am no longer voting people out. I am not trying to make as much money for myself. I'm not trying to be there at the end of the game with just me. Now, there are other people in this game that are playing it simply to look out best for them. This is where I think there's a problem. We have some people like Jerry Jeudy that only cares about how many catches he gets, how many touchdowns he gets, and he doesn't care about the team's score. He would rather have 3 touchdowns and lose the game than actually not have a single catch and win the game. And I think that's right now, and I don't know if Robbie agrees with me with this, but I think right now is I'm playing this as a team game. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to win. If I'm not the imposter, I'm trying to win the game with the team. I'm not trying to win the game as an individual. And there are people that are playing this game as individuals.
But Brodie,
and I think that's where it makes it
But Brodie,
tough.
Hunter kept telling us there was still imposters alive, so we had to keep voting.
I never said that.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
you know what you said, but I'm just saying, like,
no,
but
even once again, by your own logic there, right? Like, you said we voted
said at
Robbie.
the-
I would have voted Robbie out regardless of whether I knew there was another imposter
Correct.
because it made more of our prize money for me.
Correct.
Direct quote from 30 seconds ago.
It's completely fine. Trevor played that way.
Yeah,
Jay Millie played that way.
Yeah,
Grant
and
probably
I already
played that way
yeah.
too with
No,
his vote.
I only
Grant played
base my
that way with his
no.
vote.
It was just a mob thing.
Yeah, but I'll
Because
say
mob are you talking about? You are the mob.
Yeah, but
You
no,
keep saying it's a mob team. You
that
are
means
the
he
mob.
positioned
I'm
himself
just-
well.
I'm just
No
listening.
one should have won money at the end.
I'm
Because
listening
all
to
you
the-
should have gone home with nothing. Because
That sounds like loser talk. That sounds like loser
No,
talk.
you guys
Yeah.
played
So-
terrible at the end.
so
You guys
here's
played
my-
terrible. You should have
I'll ring us back in. I'll ring us back in. So
Someone
my
beat and the person to get voted out. That's crazy to me.
So I already said this on the other episode of the offseason that I came on. I actually don't care that Trevor lied to my face at all because once again, you're playing the game. That is the point of the game is to lie. I wish that more people walked into the game ready to lie, like straight up. That's the same thing when you go to play werewolf and everyone like the roles are revealed and everyone wakes up and no one talks because they're like, well, I don't want to lie, but like it's just the most boring game ever.
But the
So
only people that shouldn't want to lie, Robbie, are the werewolves.
Well, so I appreciate that Trevor did what he did. That's fine. I respect the game. My confusion, and now that we have them here, is like, Grant, you're in the conversation that I'm actively quoting. And Trevor is just hard denying it to the whole room,
What are we
saying,
doing?
hey, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. And you know for a fact that he said that. Carlos, you're hearing now multiple times when Brodie's like, did he tell you that he's going to vote you, then you? He's going to vote you, then you. Like, we now have a precedent set that Trevor is lying.
See that
And
that
the
threw
two
me
of
off.
the two of you just continue to say like, yep, that's true, but
Doesn't
I'm going to
matter.
follow where he goes. So that was the
It
most
all
confusing
worked
part
out
for
in the
me.
end for him, didn't it?
Who else knew that Trevor that was like Brodie was the only person that said that Trevor said he was voting Carlos than me. So it's either Brodie's lying or
But he
Trevor's
already
lying.
lied, though, to your face when
Or
Robbie
both.
said, you said this. Robbie said, you said this, and Trevor said, no, I did not.
What did
you were in the
Robbie-
conversation when he said that.
What did Robbie say that I said?
So he already
I'm trying
lied.
to just remember.
Because
He
remember, that was where
The
Jay
footage.
Millie comes out and he's like, by the way, Carlos and Grant are my boys. I'd ride or
Yeah.
die with them to the end. And it's
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. And then he's like, so I'm definitely not voting you either. So that's when the block is formed. And then for 4 people, disc golf just didn't matter anymore because they were riding it to the
Well,
end.
Robbie,
Whether
Robbie, you got to remember, too, like, if you lie to me, Robbie, I'm not going to be your friend.
That's
outside
fair.
the game.
That's
I-
fair.
I
That was
didn't- there is several questions.
moment right there.
I mean,
Several
you guys,
people
you guys
submitted
have
that.
your fingers so entangled into each other.
that's
Several
that
people
it's gross.
submitted that
It's
for Jay
gross.
Millie, but he wasn't here to defend
Yeah.
himself. But
I
'cause I
yeah.
did see the moment of Grant raveling, stepping that back. I think it made it into the episode where you're like, I mean, guys, we do have to remember, like, this is a game.
I don't
right?
think
Like,
that made it in.
It did
But
not make it in.
I know
but I
there's
did
footage
tell
of
him
it.
that.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, hey, you need to like take a step back. And I like remember it's just a game. And at some point when like there's more and more money on the line, maybe it becomes more than a game, even if it is just a game. But
Totally.
in my mind, I was like, we're lying to each other. Like it's the deception game. Like that's
But no
the
one
point.
should be lying to each other, Grant. That's the whole point. If you're not the imposter, why are we lying to each other?
So that you stay
Grant,
alive.
Well, no, I'm saying only if you're the imposter is what I'm saying.
Right.
Should
Yeah,
you
because
be-
what was said to Grant was,
so
if you're
literally Trevor lied and you didn't vote him out. What you just said is the only
Okay,
person that should
But I
lie.
lied. I lied because I was jumping to Grant's team.
Yeah. So I think
Like, that's
I
why I was
don't
lying.
remember exactly when I like thinking back. I don't remember Trevor lying.
I
to
lied.
Robbie.
So I lied because I was jumping. It was after I talked to you and Jay Millie,
Yeah.
and you guys started to have Brodie in your crosshairs.
Yeah.
That's
The
when
mob-
I knew
the mob kill path got
Right.
laid out on
so,
camera.
So I knew, okay, I need to jump ships. Like, this is the time. This group is going to make it. So that's who I lied. I lied to jump ships to
What did
Grant's team.
But
What
that's
did you-
also that's terrible. You Trevor, you jumped ship because of two people. Two
Brodie,
people.
I made it to the end. It worked. What are we talking about?
You got lucky that Carlos
I'll
said
take
something.
it. I'll take it.
No, you played a terrible game. Don't.
I played a terrible game. I won.
Exactly. That's the reason why I don't like this game is because you just said I won, not we won. I played this game as a team because that's what this game is. You're supposed to vote out the werewolf. To me, what should have happened is you should have lost money every time you voted someone else that wasn't the werewolf.
Wasn't
That's
a
what
rule in
should
the
happen.
game.
I know, but what I'm saying is you can't say you played a great game.
I can,
You know what I
'cause
can
I
do?
won.
I can say, hey, Jay Millie, I'm going to donate $10,000 to your charity and be your godfather's son. And don't vote me out. I could do the
godfather's
same
son.
thing to all these people and say all this stuff and make the game terrible because all this stuff. The fact that you're like, I know for a fact it's not Jay Millie. That is crazy to me. You should know for a fact it's not anyone. And then the fact that you're the only reason that you stayed alive for as long as you did is you had everyone convinced that no way Hunter would ever pick Trevor to
I
be
never
your
said
again.
that to anybody.
And then
They
and
made
then-
that idea on their own. I
and
never
then
said that
wo-
to anybody.
And then once it came out that no, Hunter actually said it was completely random, and everyone just said, "Oh, it still can't be Trevor." It's crazy. No one should have won money at the end. That's my thing.
I have a
No
question.
one should have
I
won money.
did. I will
Hunter
say-
makes the rules of the game. I followed the rules. I won the game.
Grant, Trevor, and Carlos had Brodie won immunity in that battle. Like specifically Grant and Carlos. Would Trevor have caught stray votes there?
Probably.
Or-
yes.
Actually, there's
I
there's
felt
a
like I was
chance-
gone.
There's a chance I would have voted Trevor.
I'd also like to mention, and this was not on camera, but Brodie, if you remember correctly, I literally told everybody to vote me out and threw away my vote. Like I let it out there. I said, you know what? I'm sick of the games. I'm throwing away my vote. Go ahead and vote me out. And they didn't vote me out. So like I tried to give it up and they didn't put that in the show.
That's good.
But-
That's good. What's that called when you're trying to convince people to do something? What is that called?
Reverse psychology.
Yes,
You
it's
can
the
say what
reverse
you want, but I
psychology.
was prepared to leave. I was
Good
fully
reverse
prepared to
psychology.
leave.
The
Because I didn't have
in
to
the
say
show
that. They
that-
weren't going to vote me
Oh,
out.
here's the thing. You got butthurt because I called you out for lying, and then
All right.
and then
All
I
right.
ended
now
up
we're
getting.
now we're getting
No,
These
personal.
guys
that's
are gonna be
exactly
locked
what
in a room
happened.
together
You
for
were saying it
24
was getting
hours.
you were saying it was getting
Now we're
toxic.
getting
Reliving the
personal.
trauma right now.
You were
Yeah.
saying you were
Yeah.
saying it was getting toxic, and the only reason it got toxic was because you were lying. And
No,
so
it got,
I was just
it got
bringing up the-
toxic, Brodie, because you couldn't believe that I was lying in a show based around lying, and you were yelling at me
I
for
couldn't
it.
believe you were lying when you
Yeah.
were on. We were on the same team, Trevor.
And then I wasn't,
And
which is why I lied to you.
No, we were always on the same team.
Yeah,
That's
we're
what you're
always on the
missing.
same team.
Yes,
Thank you,
until
Hunter.
I wasn't.
No,
that is
you
what
were always on this. The
Trevor.
only person in
Trevor.
this room that wasn't on the same team was Gary. Carlos was 50-50.
I'll
Yeah.
say this one more time. Me and you are playing different games, and that could be my fault. I'm playing the game of, hey, I'm a team player. I want the team to win. You're playing the game. I'm not a team player. I want myself to win. I don't care about the team.
Okay.
No,
Yes, I
that's-
want
Also
to
think-
I want to
think
make it to the
that's
end.
what
Let
happened.
me also say, think about your mentality, but you being the most talented person. So then for me, that says, okay, so if we make it like, far, we're not voting anybody, and then I play bad, Brodie's going to vote me off. So then for the sake of like me just wanting to stay on, maybe I'm attacking you now. And it's not like.
Again, Grant, here's the thing. The way everyone's playing the game differently. That's at the end of the day. Some people are playing the game I play the game we. And so,
all the way home.
That's and I.
But you're also you're playing the game but you like first though. You don't want the team to succeed without you.
Correct.
You want the team to succeed with you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the imposter, Grant. The reason why I was so adamant not to vote me out is because I knew I wasn't the imposter. When Jay Millie said the imposter was still in, I was doing the math. And you remember I was going through it, and I said, if you vote me out, you have X amount of, I can't remember what the percentages was, but I was like, you are giving yourself this chance, a pretty high chance to not take any money if you vote me out. I was doing the percentages of what you should do in that situation, knowing there was an imposter still in the game. And you guys did the wrong thing, and you got lucky that Carlos, wasn't a second imposter, because if Carlos was a second imposter, guess what? Trevor and Grant, you would have gone home with 0. And when I said at the beginning,
we could have voted him out.
No, you guys.
You could have voted him out. There was no shot.
No,
bro.
we would
There was
have.
no
We would
shot.
have voted
Stop that.
somebody. So who would have got
Stop that.
voted?
Stop.
Well,
No,
that's
you
what-
voted
so-
me, and then no one would have voted.
No. If
to-
Hunter said that and then Carlos didn't say anything, we would have voted. We would have had to.
No, but the thing is, if Carlos was actually an imposter, Hunter wouldn't have said that, and you all would have gone home with 0. Trevor, what are you not understanding here?
I
The
probably
reason-
wouldn't have said it. Yeah, he
Exactly,
is right there. Because
exactly.
if we were going
You
into the
would've gone
final
home with
day,
0.
if we were
But
going into the final
but he
day and it was
wasn't.
all kumbaya and Carlos was an imposter, I probably wouldn't have said anything
but
just because that would have been electric.
If he wasn't.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
What are
you
we
got
talking
lucky.
about?
You got
Well,
lucky.
but you did. To Brodie's
You got
point,
lucky.
when y'all,
I'll take it.
well, to Brodie's point, when y'all voted Brodie, you didn't know Carlos's role. Everyone thought an
No.
imposter was alive.
Correct.
That's what surprised me production wise is I had everyone walk into that room making a case for why Trevor was the imposter and Brodie wasn't, and still vote Brodie, which I think is what's ticking Brodie off. Because
Yes.
that camera
You
or not, that
lied.
is what happened
You lied,
in the
Trevor.
voting room.
I never lied. Why would you vote for someone that didn't lie?
How do we
and
know
someone
that?
did
How do
lie?
we know that you didn't lie though? Like,
Well, yeah.
What-
how
lie-
do we know that you didn't tell a lie?
What-
You could
roll
have
the clip.
every time you said I'm not the imposter, you could have been lying to us. Like,
Yes.
what?
If I was the okay, but then
What Brodie's point is
I was the only one
Brodie
caught
was-
in a lie.
Correct. Which that's
Yeah.
Brodie's point is everyone
is
knew
true.
everyone
Vote out
knew
the
you were
person.
lying, but chose
Yeah.
not to vote for you.
that's
No
like
one had any
saying
proof
why-
Brodie was lying
That's
because
like
he
saying
wasn't.
why did we vote for Gary out when he threw that really bad shot? It's like we all saw him throw a really
Well,
bad
listen,
shot. We
at
should
the end of
vote
the day,
him out.
I can't speak for
My
why
time is
anybody
done.
didn't vote me. To be clear, like like they could
I
have
really
voted me.
wish I really wish Jay Millie was here because I messed up production. It didn't end up in it, but we revealed to Jay Millie hey, Wheel decided the imposter, and you see his wheel start turning because all of a sudden his vote mattered because Trevor threw his vote. So we had 2 votes Brodie, 1 vote Trevor. Jay Millie walks into the room, and I also thought for sure Trevor's going home when Grant walked into the room because he laid down even more of a case of why Trevor is the imposter than was in there, and then was like,
And for
I
that
still
reason,
gotta stick with my
I'm
boys and
going
voting
Brodie.
Brodie. And like he walked out of the room and I looked at Connor. I was like, "What just happened? Like, did homie hold up the wrong disc or something? Like, what just happened?" But when Jay Millie was there and I told him the wheel decided it, and he looked at me and he goes, "So what happens if I vote both of them?" And the 2 plans from day 1, and I'm an idiot because I just messed up. The 2 plans were early in the show they both stay, late in the show they both go home, or
that
if it's of
was sick.
more interest they play off. And they play off and the loser goes home of the playoff. Those were the scenarios. And he looks me in the eyes and goes, "So if I vote Trevor and split the vote, what happens?" And I said, "They both stay." And then he votes Brodie, of course, because he's like, "Oh, well, now
We gotta get rid of
I got to get
someone."
rid of someone, so I'm not going to vote
Also, how
Trevor and
did
split
he
the
know?
vote."
How did he know the votes? Did
I
you
told
guys-
him, I said, "Your vote matters. It's split currently. You're
No,
the deciding vote."
Oh, okay. So I guess
We were trying to egg him on to vote Trevor because we wanted the vote to split, because we wanted Brodie to go into the final day, because we knew for drama's sake the final day is better with Brodie in it. But I just messed up there. I think it's because that day we had just went through the long day at New London. That day was kind of we had the chaos of everyone yelling, and so I think that we were like dreading, like, hey, we don't want to send everyone back out to the course to have this playoff and all of this. We're worried about the live stream timing tomorrow, all of that. And so we were just like, oh, they both stay. And then as soon as I saw that in the edit, I like put my hand on my head. I'm like, Connor, I messed up. Like if they both went home or if they played off, I want to know if Jay Millie would have changed or if he still would have been like, oh, well, I'm still voting Brodie.
Midnight glow round playoff would have been sick.
Yeah. The playoff would have been electric. I can't believe I messed it up. But yeah.
I just wanted to say that G-Star, you are a very lucky boy that I died halfway through the first round, or all them missed putts would have came back to haunt you.
I think you're right. Somehow, every round, I was like, how did I make it through?
The warehouse saved your butt.
That helped a lot.
I think the warehouse, you being up for 30 minutes missing putts, I think everyone was like, homeboy wants to go to bed. Like an imposter's not laying it on this thick to prove like they prove he's a bad putter. Because I think that's what got Brodie off your back. Is like when you got in the next day, like Brodie was very quick to be like, he's a bad putter. Like guys, if he misses a putt, he's a bad putter. It doesn't matter.
Because that warehouse was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, because I asked, I forget who it was on the off season, but I was talking about, I think it was during the episode 2 recap of, I was very surprised, like, they kept putting Gary into situations with all eyes on Gary, obviously saying, like, if he messes up, he's going home. Yet Grant had missed so many putts in the first round, and they said, we know Grant isn't going to make putts. We're worried about Grant as a liability. Let's hide him and make him the upshot guy. And then that turned into everyone in voting was like, Grant's the superhero. He's the upshot king. And the only person that was like a little upset he was the upshot king was Grant. When he walked in, he's like, I mean, I kind of wish I would have got to throw a shot, but like, hey, I got to do what I got to do for the team to win.
I was
you know
upset he was the upshot king. Every single time they gave you an upshot, Grant, I literally was like having an internal argument of like, again? Again? Like, the upshot? And then like you throw it up and they'd be all go, ah!
Hey, my mentality was just survive another day. So I was like, this is easy.
You survive and get through.
You killed it.
I think we've hit on everything that Instagram wanted us to, because in that whole long spiel, the main thing people wanted to know too was the Robbie, Jay Millie, Grant dynamic of how Robbie felt, but he already touched on that. So is there anything that wasn't covered here that you're like, man, I really wish I would have gotten to say my piece on this as we close out the show?
I'll say I think the Airbnb actually kind of backfired a little bit. Because initially, right, we like the first season of Imposter, it was there was a couple people staying together and then everyone kind of was doing their own thing. And then we were like, all right, they're having conversations. We should put everyone in the same house. And so then everyone went in the same house. And I think ultimately what ended up happening too was like bonds were created and kind of like to what Grant was saying, like the mob mentality, which when in fact, like the mob mentality, it was still just a couple people. It wasn't that like when Robbie got voted out, it wasn't really a mob. It was
I'm just saying you go with the group. If you want to survive, you go with the group.
Sure. But I mean, I think when you had the Airbnb, I mean, you had Carlos, Grant, and Jay Millie basically super tight at the Airbnb. And I think that's too also, Jay Millie, I wish he was on here to talk about that line that he said. I think that also made it kind of weird because it was like friendships were built, which is like, hey, fine. You guys want to make friends. It's all good. But, I think a lot of people coming into the game are just trying to win the game as a team and not like make friends and understand that there's going to be someone's going to be deceiving.
Brodie, I'm going to be straight with you. Judging by this panel, I think you might have been the only one, although yes, it is a team game, that came in trying to win the game as a team.
Did anyone else care about winning as it like once
as the only one here who's won before as a team? If I would not have been the imposter, I would be right there with you, Brodie. Win as a team.
Robbie, are you trying to make as much money as possible at the end and vote everyone else out, even if you know the imposter's gone?
No, that's why I said there's a 5% chance of like we're here. That I literally the biggest blindside that I got was the riding in the car with you and Jay Millie and being like, we did it. Okay, we just got crushed by New London, but we already got the imposter, so like we're chilling. Let's do the thing. And then I realized like, oof. No one's really talking as much. Brodie might just be hungry. But Josh definitely isn't talking. And then I made that statement about like, well, we could play board games later, I guess, if I'm still alive. And then Jay Millie letting out that incredibly awkward laugh of, ha! I was like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely dead here. That's tough. Okay, start prepping.
Okay, so there was 3 people, Hunter, that were playing it as a team.
Well, see, I would have played it. I mean, like, I feel like I'm on the same page as you, but above playing as a team is me trying to survive and make it to the next round. And that means me agreeing usually with the 2 or 3 people that are like, hey,
Grant,
let's vote this person off.
He's
Grant,
playing whatever team gets him to the end.
Grant, real quick, you do know that if you would have voted for Trevor and not me, you would have continued to stay in the game, right? So your logic of I'm just trying to vote to stay in the game, you would have gotten the person out that has lied versus the person
but
that
I didn't know that. I thought that you lied. I thought that you lied because there was
He had no way to
rumor.
verify your information of Trevor saying he's going Carlos
what's this
Grant.
rumor? We got a rumor. What's the rumor?
The thing that you said about Trevor voting Carlos than me, because I thought that was you just like putting out a last second lie, like, oh, Trevor's out to get you guys, because I didn't know.
Yeah,
Well,
I
also-
thought the same thing.
But wait, you were in the conversation when Robbie came. To me, that was the first time I figured out that Trevor lied, was when Robbie came in with the footage. At that point in time, I did not think Trevor was the imposter. Once Robbie came back and it came out that Trevor had lied, then
Wait,
I was like, oh.
what lie exactly are you talking about?
That was when Trevor said,
Brodie and I
I've
were in
talked to
the-
Brodie. He's good with going next. And he hadn't talked to Brodie. Brodie wasn't good with going next.
No, he's talking about the Carlos
Well,
thing.
I didn't know that either.
Brodie,
I thought
Brodie and I
Brodie was
were on
good
the
with
way.
going next.
Brodie and I were on the way to the gym, and we had talked about something along the lines of like, if we needed to take out Carlos, could we do it? And we were like, yeah, we could if we had to. I don't think we were settled on it, but we definitely talked about it, and that's what Brodie mentioned. And that was another one where I was like,
Well,
oh shoot, they're airing out my laundry.
I was talking more about when Robbie came back with the video evidence saying this.
Yeah,
is
no,
what I
that one,
saw.
that video evidence was
And
yes,
then
that was
Trevor.
Yeah.
Trevor was really,
And that's
right.
what Grant's saying. He doesn't remember that
Well,
section
what I'm
of
saying.
me coming out and saying, hey, this was the conversation they showed me. Because Jay Millie walked upstairs and was like, I know exactly what conversation you showed
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, no, I
Trevor
remember the
knew.
conversation.
And
Yeah.
Trevor
But,
was
like,
there lying to Robbie, saying that didn't happen. When
But I
in
think
fact, you know,
my-
it did happen. You were in the conversation.
Well, yeah, but I think at that point it was like we were.
You thought
Why
Trevor
lie?
was defending your secrecy.
The mob was going Robbie, and I thought Trevor was just saving face and trying to make it less awkward. And then I
Correct.
was like, yeah, I'm just gonna let him say whatever.
and that was a
like,
correct assumption. I was just trying to save face.
But why?
Because I,
Well, it's just-
I
it's
didn't
just
want
awkward.
to look like it was awkward. Yeah, because like our intentions were just revealed in front of everybody when we'd have rather had them just be revealed in the vote. So yeah, I mean it was awkward.
Yeah, because you're
There was a
to
lot-
Brodie's,
there was a
to
lot
Brodie's
of
point.
lies.
I'll never
To Brodie's
understand why
point.
to lie in this game
Yeah,
without.
yeah.
like,
To Brodie's point, if the mob has already voted that way,
who cares?
that's totally fair for them to go, for Trevor to go, yeah, you're right. That's what we're doing. Good luck, brother. Because
you
that's
later.
basically what the result was,
Yeah.
okay, it doesn't matter what I say, I'm dead. So then it was just, what can I spread?
and then
So I think
Grant-
that's what Brodie's saying.
Yeah, and then
Whereas I can see the social awkwardness. Of,
Yeah, guys, I freaked out. Like, imagine it's not part of the game, and then you found out that now they can show footage to people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I freaked out. Like
Yeah.
we all would have in that situation.
Sure. And then
what else
Grant,
could I say?
that's all I'm saying is like you were always playing the game of, hey, if it's not me, that's fine, let's advance. You were the swing vote. And you could have voted out the person.
Well, but I
that-
didn't know that.
He didn't know he was a swing vote. He just walked. He was one of the early votes.
Who did you think I voted for? In that, let's just play it out. Who do you think I voted for?
I really
in
didn't
that
know
vote?
if you and Trevor voted at all. Because Trevor said he wasn't going to vote.
Yeah, I told Brodie.
And
to
then
vote
you
for
were
me.
able to-
I thought maybe you heard Trevor say he wasn't going to vote, and then
Heck no, I thought he was the imposter. He lied.
well, see, I thought you lied. I thought you lied about
that's
the
what you
about
keep
the Carlos.
missing, Brodie. Is the Carlos Grant thing? You're the only one that heard. So when
should I
they
have
hear
not-
that information,
So if I didn't say that, you guys would have voted for Trevor.
I
if
would have
did-
suspected you less, yeah. Because I thought you're going home, you're the imposter, and you're just saying this as like a last ditch effort to make me vote.
That's
Trevor.
interesting.
No,
because
but
there was, I will say, we
That's
as the production team, I had never heard that conversation, and so when you brought it out of nowhere, I was like, oh shoot. But like it was because it seemed so out of left field because Trevor had such a strong alliance at that point with Grant and Carlos that when you said he's aiming at you and you, I think everyone in the room was like, that can't be true.
I think what it was. So if I think I'm remembering it now. So you have me, Brodie, Carlos, Grant,
Jay Millie.
and Jay Millie. And when Brodie and I were talking about it, I said I have the most confidence in Jay Millie. So if we can control the votes, if we had
100%, it wasn't Jay Millie.
Yeah, well, that was the most confidence. So if we controlled the vote, I was saying there was a world where we could take out, if we had to, Carlos and Grant. I do remember that. But that conversation was just me dropping you off at the Y to go work out. Like it was very brief, spur of the moment thing. But when you brought it back up, I was like, oh shoot, I did that.
I think when I started understanding that you weren't, not everything you were telling me was truthful, and you were also leaving some information out.
That was what most of it was. I just did stop talking. Like I stopped telling you stuff. Yes.
And when that happened, I was like, oh shoot. Like I was with Trevor not being the imposter because I thought you were playing really well. Again, I'm doing a lot of my stuff based off of play. I was like, I don't think Trevor's the imposter. He hasn't done anything that made me believe he's the imposter. I was like, but now I come to the idea that he's going to lie. And so at that point in time, I'm like, oh, wait, Grant and Carlos think that Trevor's like, they're all talking like they're all buddy. That's why I was like,
and I had no plans to
know that he's trying to vote you guys out. Now,
I genuinely had no
plans.
I had no plans to jump from the Carlos Brodie ship. I was going to just ride that out until I heard how strongly Grant and Jay Millie were talking about Brodie. And I was like, man, I panicked and I felt like I had to jump. That's what I did.
But there you have it,
I
folks.
would have suspected you a little bit less if I didn't think you were just straight up lying to me about Trevor voting me and Carlos.
Hunter.
Yeah, I guess that would have sounded far-fetched, to be fair.
I'll tee it back up to Hunter. You asked for final thoughts.
Yeah.
I think my impression is, as the guy who made it halfway through, I felt like the disc golf in season 1 mattered more than it appeared.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And this time, like as a faithful, I felt like my contribution was I'm going to try to let the disc golf continue to matter, because that's how, at least how it felt. The first 2 votes went, where we got rid of Bear to hit some lines. We got rid of Gary because we thought he was the imposter and also sabotaging the line. So my contribution to the team was, let me try to win. And I think in season 2, the disc golf mattered like 3%.
Yeah.
How many people got voted off in season 1 because of disc golf?
Well, what's his face did?
Like 2?
Round 1
Brody
for sure.
did. Larkin did.
And Joel never
No,
got
Josh
voted.
did not because of disc golf.
Josh White.
Josh
White.
did. Josh
So
White
3.
did.
So 3.
But Joel also did not get vote out based off his play too.
He
from
almost
round
did.
1.
He almost did.
Joel was on the chopping block, but
he didn't get
his
it at all.
putt on hole 1 on round 1
pretty much
saved him.
Yeah,
saved
but I'm
it.
saying it was 3 people last season to 2 people this season, so it really wasn't.
Yeah, well, even 1, you might say, because
you could argue
you did say that we were voting Gary regardless of what he did.
Yeah, you could
round
argue
2.
only 1 round really.
Yeah, but my opinion on Gary was solidified because of his disc golf in round 1.
But if Gary would have, I don't think I would have voted. I would have been less
It was
likely to
definitely
vote for
because of the disc
Gary
golf.
if Gary would have played good in round 3.
I think
the second.
Yeah, that's my if round 2. I would
Gary-
have came out and been an absolute asset to the team.
Yes, I would have been less suspect about you, and then.
I think Gary was still dead if he played great in the round.
But
For
also,
the majority,
no one,
yeah. I
no
think
one really
Jamie-
played that
in-
bad in round 2. The line was weird. I think if the line was closer, it would have been different.
Well, we got plenty of learning moments for next season. I think that everyone would agree, goal next year, make the disc golf matter more. And don't worry, I have plenty of plans to do that. So next season, the disc golf's going to matter. The off-course stuff is going to matter a lot. You know, alliances are stronger than disc golf sometimes, but there's ways to get around it, and I'm not going to reveal my hand until next year. If you want to apply to be on the show, be sure to stay tuned to our social media, probably around February, March. That's when we posted last year. You're looking at a room full of people that applied to be on the show, because I believe Bear Bite, I don't remember if I reached out to you or you applied, but I know Gary applied season 1, Carlos applied season 2, Grant applied season 2. So I know for sure at least 3 of the 5 in here are applicants. I'm pretty sure Bear Bite, you did too.
Can't hear him.
Can't hear him, but I think he said absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
It's all good. It's all good.
So yeah, if you want to be a part of the show, a lot of people were wondering how we chose these people. Applications. That's how we choose them. So stay tuned. Around February, March, applications will go back out. We'll bring in some of your favorites from season 1 and 2 as well to kind of mend things together. And then season 3 is going to be the best one yet. So stay tuned. It'll be coming out again next year around that October, November range. We cannot wait. And thank you all for hopping on and clearing the air, or maybe making things a little bit murkier. Who knows? But hey, that's the reunion episode. We'll talk to you next week.